Well, not surprisingly, because the internet loves controversy. Controversy? The last ADV Hot Takes video did incredibly well, so thank you for that. Either my hot takes are not that hot, and a lot of people agree with them, or you all just love to argue. Either way, it seemed prudent to strike while the iron is hot, so here are my ADV Hot Takes. Take 2, more ADV Hot Takes. Before we jump in, I just want to say thank you to Cyclops Adventure Lighting for sponsoring this video. Again, I'm just a dude and these are my opinions. These are rooted in my experiences and not scientific research, but I do interact with a large portion of the ADV crowd, and in particular newer riders or less skilled riders, probably more than not anybody else, but than most people. So these are a few trends and things I've noticed and my opinions on them. Coming out of the gate hot, number 1 ADV hot take, you need training. Yes, you. Upfront training can keep you from developing bad habits like I did. It's better to know what you're supposed to do in situations, even if you can't exactly do it correctly. It's better to know what you're aspiring to, what you're trying to do, so that you can start developing those habits, start developing that muscle memory, start developing those instincts like standing up when it gets difficult, rather than your brain tells you need to sit down and slow down, when what you really need to do in most cases is stand up and speed up. That training is invaluable, and really it's like health insurance and bike insurance. You're less likely to hurt yourself, particularly if you're starting riding as an older rider like I did, and less likely to damage your very expensive motorcycle that you just spent all that money on. So invest a few $100s in training and save thousands of dollars in injuries and mechanical expenses. You need training. Okay, yeah, obviously noobs need training, but I'm an experienced rider. I don't need any training. Wrong. You may be experienced, and that's great, and I'm happy for you. You might be the best rider on earth, but 1, you can always get better. And 2, even Tiger Woods has a swing coach, and he's a pretty good golfer, I hear. You may think you know everything, but you can always get better, and the one thing you can't do, no matter how good you are, is step outside yourself, objectively observe yourself, and give yourself real-time, in-the-moment feedback and coaching. Coaching is invaluable. Spending that money on a weekend of training can elevate your riding, make you safer and more confident in a way that very few things can. Anybody who rides off-road should get training, and the answer to the question, do I need more training, is always yes. You can always benefit from more training. Hot take number 1, you, yes you, the person watching this video, need training, period. Number 2 hot take, you've heard me say this one before, but if you want to learn to ride an adventure bike off-road, if your goal is to ride an adventure bike off the pavement. This is an important qualifier, off the pavement. If you want to ride an adventure bike off the pavement, you should not buy an adventure bike, assuming you have no off-road experience. You should buy a dual sport or a dirt bike, learn, build those skills, get that training. It's just, at the end of the day, gonna be faster and safer. It is very hard, and again, someone always chimes in, but I learned on my GS. Good for you, but you would have learned faster if you bought a TW200 or a WR250R or something. You just would have. It's just easier. Or at least I would, and the only person whose experience I can really speak to is my own. It's not the same. Learning on a lighter bike is so much easier, and if you can, getting out and doing a training on a dirt bike really helps you build those skills and the confidence. The confidence is so important. Just knowing what's possible, it just opens your eyes in a way that going out and being terrified of dropping a 500-pound bike all day just never will. So if you want to learn, if your legitimate goal is to learn to ride competently off-road on an adventure bike, you should learn to ride off-road on a dual sport or a dirt bike first. You can always sell that dual sport at a minimal loss after a year or 2. You'll be happy that you did, because you'll feel so much better and more confident when you move up to the more expensive and harder to ride bike. That one's kind of obvious, but here, let me bite the hand that feeds me to a degree. Dual sport adventure riding hot take number 3. ADV marketing is targeting the wrong people. The vast majority of riders out there, and go to any rally, go to Touratech, go to Giant Loop, go to Get on ADV Fest, and look around. They look a hell of a lot more like me, gray hair, kind of paunchy, older dudes than they do like Paul Torres out there jumping across a canyon on a Tenere 700. But if you watch adventure bike marketing, even the big bikes, particularly the big bikes, it looks like they're targeting 12-year-old boys. So many wheelies and power slides. Yes, I think that stuff is cool. And it's really neat to know that the bike can do that. How many of us are ever going to power slide a Tiger 900 up a sand dune the way they do in their promotional video? How many of us ride Dakar? Because literally the Africa Twin launch video is Ricky Brabeck, who is a great guy who I've met in person, great rider, talking about winning Dakar and then riding wheelies and doing jumps and power slides and stuff. Nobody who's buying that Africa Twin is doing that, and we don't buy it to do that. The 1300 GS launch video, ridiculous. Yamaha T7 video, and I'm pulling just official videos from the companies here. I watched the Africa Twin Adventure Sports video, and at first I was like, they get it, because they're kind of riding on the street, because the ATAS is the more street-focused one with the smaller front wheel, and then they're at this really cool campsite by a waterfall, but then, oh wait, never mind, wheelies and power slides on the sand at the end, and I get it, it looks cool. It looks cool, but why is there not videos of normal-looking, average people riding to really cool places and camping? Why do these bikes never have any luggage on them? Why do they not tackle a BDR? Like, the pinnacle of adventure riding, in my opinion, is a BDR, a week-long riding and camping trip, and a bike that can do that is a great adventure bike for everything you're gonna wanna do. Where is it? It's not in the marketing. They don't have it. The ATAS video at least had bags and there was some camping, but they ventured off into the look at the power slides I can do stuff. It's like they're letting their dirt bike marketing teams market their adventure bikes, and I just think it sends the wrong message. I think it sets unrealistic expectations, and I think it discourages more casual riders who think they need to be able to ride like that in order to enjoy a bike like this. Adventure bikes are about going places and seeing stuff. For some reason, the big adventure bikes, man, it's all power slides and wheelies and amazing footage of people sliding sideways, and this is a point I tried to make to Giant Loop before I left, and they're just as bad as anyone else. Look at the very first page when you go to giantloopmoto.com. It's power slides and wheelies, and those are not the people buying this gear. They just aren't. It looks cool, but that's not who's doing it. I think there's a real missed opportunity here, and somebody will jump on it and figure it out and make a lot of money, my opinion. Speaking of marketing, let me tell you about our friends at Cyclops Adventure Sports. So you all know I've been working with Daryl and Brian at Cyclops for a few years now. This is a local company. They're in Kent, Washington. It's run by two guys who can ride the wheels off an adventure bike, and I have video evidence of that. They are dedicated to not only illuminating your night rides, but also, and perhaps more importantly, ensuring that you are as visible as possible when dodging cagers on the interstate. The most dangerous thing to motorcyclists on the road is other drivers. Cyclops products are designed to help minimize that risk by maximizing your visibility. Whether you're talking about aux lights for the front, like the Cyclops Explorer setup I have on my KTM 790 Adventure, or maximizing visibility while braking and turning with the Skane P3 setup on the rear. Cyclops is unique in the world of adventure lighting because they have plug-and-play bike-specific harnesses that integrate into existing connectors on the bike and also allow you to still use accessory inputs that might be on the bike so you can run GPSs and other electrical devices. They have dimming functions with no switches added to the bike. You simply use your factory high-low switch to adjust and operate the lights at high and low beam settings, and their dimmers and harnesses are 100% made in the USA. Many of their products feature their patented conspicuity flicker, and their customer service is outstanding. There's only two guys. It's Daryl and Brian. The ones that design and build the light kits are the same ones that help you over the phone or via email, and they do answer the phone and will walk you through setup. I know electrical can be intimidating. It certainly is for me. They do that all the time. They ride, and I'm just excited to be continually working with them. I think their products are great. They take a beating, and they're just a couple cool guys who I want to support. So visit cyclopsadventuresports.com or just click the link in the description and use promo code DORK in the road to save 10% off your purchase. I am looking forward to a multi-day tour of the Olympic Peninsula with these guys in June. It's their home turf, and I've always wanted to ride it, so that's going to be awesome. ADV Hot Take number 4. Camping is what you decide it is. This maybe applies to the broader world, but I'll bring it back to the ADV context. Please do not listen to the keyboard warriors bemoaning your comfy setup because they're badasses who always go out with a tarp, a knife, and a loincloth. Camping in a campground is fine. I do it all the time. There are disadvantages, which I've illustrated in my dispersed camping versus campgrounds video, but going to one is still camping. Yurt and cabin camping count if you think they count. I just got back from a cabin camping trip last week. It's January. You still get the campfire. It's still cold out. You're still riding there. It's still camping. I cooked a steak over the fire. The only difference was I didn't sleep in a tent. And along those same lines, ADV specifically, you do not have to camp to ride ADV. Now, it's fun, and you should think about it, because I really enjoy it, but everyone starts with day trips. ADV riding and motocamping are not synonymous. People do one without the other all the time. Lots of people out there on baggers and cruisers motocamping, and lots of people out there riding adventure bikes who never sleep in the woods. You want to ride a BDR and not worry about carrying camping gear or sleeping on the ground? You can. It still counts as riding the BDR even if you credit card camp it. You rode the sections of the BDR, you rode the BDR. Don't let anyone tell you different. You don't have to camp to go adventure riding. You can sleep in a hotel or whatever's more comfortable for you. A lot of people have medical conditions, or they just don't have the gear, or they're just too old to sleep on the ground. They're over it. That's fine. You're still an adventure rider. Number 5, ADV hot take. This is gonna anger some people, but if you're a new rider or a newish rider, you should not take advice from experts. Or at the very least, you should take that advice with a grain of salt, because experts don't know how to teach. When I worked at Circuit City, they promoted a 19-year-old kid to supervise all of us salesmen because he was a good salesman. I gotta tell you, he didn't know a damn thing about coaching or managing people. Here's another example. I was an English teacher. Why was I an English teacher? Because I'm good at writing, editing, and reading. I've been reading Stephen King books since I was 8 years old. Sorry, Mom. I'm good at it. I've always been good at it. Because of that, I really struggled at first to figure out how to teach people to write well, because I never struggled with it. I grew up reading books. I just sort of got how sentences and paragraphs go together. Fortunately, I went to teaching school and learned some strategies and techniques and learned how to help kids develop those skills. But at first, I was at a loss, because I was like, don't you just know where the period goes? They don't. It's a skill that you have to understand the mechanics of in order to teach. And if you're naturally talented and or you grew up doing something, you don't necessarily understand those mechanics in a way you can explain them. Your friends that started riding dirt bikes at 8 years old have never struggled with the things you're struggling with. Learning to ride at 40 when falling hurts and you have stuff like a job to get back to so you can't afford to get hurt and miss work is a very different experience than being made of flubber, indestructible 8-year-old that just falls off the bike, laughs, and gets back on. These experts, or at least the people that grew up riding, don't understand fear. It's not their fault. They just don't understand your perspective, and many of them will push you to do things like just give it gas and go when that works for them but may not be the best advice for a new rider. When you're up in your head thinking a lot and they're saying just turn off your brain and do it, you may not be able to do that. You need training, like I said in the beginning, and you need to get it from someone who knows how to teach, not your buddy who is just going to, quote, teach you by throwing you into way too difficult and making you go faster than you're comfortable with. Sink or swim is not a great way to learn when you're old riding a 500-pound motorcycle that costs $15,000. Experts don't know everything, and you should take the advice of your friends who grew up riding with a grain of salt. Finally, number 6, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm tackling the most controversial topic in all of motorcycling. ADV hot take number 6. It doesn't matter what oil you use. Just go ahead, start typing, warm up your typing fingers. Why is this the most common question on the internet, followed very closely by what tires should I buy? All that matters is that you buy oil for your motorcycle that says JASOMA or JASOMA2. No, you can't use regular car motor oil because you have a wet clutch in your motorcycle, but there is very little difference between various JASO oils. They're all good for your bike. People will argue, someone's typing a comment right now, well, the viscosity and the heat and the, okay, but the differences are minute, is my point. You're talking percentages over the life of an oil change, over the life of a motorcycle. They're very similar, they all do the same thing. The smartest and best engineer I know, a guy that designs products that revolutionize the industry by accident, and I wish I was making that up, but I'm not, that's literally what he did. He runs Rotella in all of his bikes, all of them. People do that, get away with it, their bikes are fine, they're not exploding or grenading. It's a pretty common piece of evidence because that Rotella is JASO certified. Synthetic lasts longer and is more expensive, but actual difference in lubrication and engine performance for most of us regular dudes is minimal and mostly negligible. If it really mattered to the point where it was causing issues, aka warranty claims, aka it was hitting the company's bottom line, then all the individual manufacturers wouldn't just recommend their own oil. Looking at you, Honda GN4 Premium Conventional Oil. If you're really worried about it, just change your oil more frequently. That will make far more of a difference over the life of your motorcycle than choosing one oil over the other. Unless you are racing and running your bike incredibly hard all the time, the difference in performance is going to be minimal. Just make sure you're changing it on time and treat your bike well. Okay, well, I can feel the heat from the flame comments, flaming me. That's a thing we used to say back in the early days of the internet. Do they still say that? Already. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. Thank you to Cyclops for sponsoring this video. I hope that you guys don't take it out on Cyclops if you disagree with me. But make sure you hit that link, pop over to their website and check out all their amazing products and use promo code DORKINTHEROAD to save 10%. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you, and please do not forget to be excellent to each other. Thank you.
Excellent!